moral integrity, or public courage, but in the finished work of Jesus Christ. This theological conviction explains in part his composure in 1977 when his wife Mary urged him to flee Uganda. He refused, declaring he had no guilty conscience. And Bishop Festo Kivenjere, my hero, whom I've done my doctoral research on, who equally was a very close friend to Archbishop Loum, he said that Archbishop Loum, when he was being taken to be murdered, kept on saying these words: "We must see the hand of God in this." He was not quoting martyrdom, nor did he believe martyrdom and righteousness. He stood firm because he believed righteousness had already been secured in Christ. His courage flowed from justification by faith. Thirdly, Genuinely was the pastor and prophet. The February 5th letter explains this. The pastoral letter of 5th February 1977 remains one of the most significant ecclesial documents in modern African church history. It is stated, I quote, "The gun which was meant to protect Uganda is increasingly being used against the Ugandan to take away his life and property." End of quote. The letter lamented sectarian favoritism and destruction of mutual trust between civilians and security forces. This was not partisan politics. It was pastoral theology applied to national crisis. Loum understood that members of the security forces were, quote, sons of civilians. His concern was not ideological revolution, but the moral disintegration of the nation. His intervention on behalf of Dennis Hills, he was a white man, Mzungu, a Catholic imprisoned and sentenced to death, further demonstrates his pastoral breadth. And Margaret Ford and other sources confirm that Loum insisted that Dennis Hills receive pastoral care, even in prison in Lira. And here we see the Good Shepherd motive, John 10:11-15 embodied. Thirdly, simplicity and dignity exhibited in the Lausanne Conference of 1974. At the Lausanne International Congress on World Evangelization, 1974, Bishop Henry Okulu recounts that Archbishop Loum slept in a shared dormitory with delegates from the global south. Okulu himself protested. I think this is just the thing of the Luo, or most of the Luo, and moved to a hotel, but Loum remained in the dormitory with the rest of the people. This anecdote recorded by Okulu illustrates simplicity without loss of dignity. He represented Uganda globally, yet lived without entitlement. Such simplicity gave moral weight to his prophetic voice. What about his visionary approach to economic empowerment of the African church? Archbishop Loum was not only a pastor and prophet, he was a strategist and an innovator. The late Canon Koduo Ankra, who was the provincial coordinator of the Church of Uganda Planning, Relief and Development Arm, he documents Loum's insistence that theology students study development studies to understand economic decline and African dependency. And I'm really grateful to this approach of Archbishop Loum, because someone like Koduo taught me, Canon Johnson Ebong, Bishop Aisu, and a few others, development studies. Of course, the teaching was very raw sometimes. For example, he would say, Olua, I've been to your churches in Lango. The churches are built by mud and grass thatch. The vicar's house is mud and grass thatch. Now, when you have a degree and they give you a vicarage, your churches will remain mud and grass thatch. Does your brain differ in any way from the bird called the shallows at Yolagwech in Lango, who makes its nest with mud centuries and centuries? If Luhum had not insisted in development studies being taught, I wouldn't have had such a stretching. No wonder I have put the Siradongo Mission of Hope. No wonder you can see the vicar's house. There is nothing like mud and grass thatch, even in the midst of a hard thing. So Archbishop Luhum, we are beneficiaries to his vision of economic empowerment to the African church and development. As provincial secretary in 1967, he pioneered the church's first 10-year development plan. He envisioned Church House, and we thank God, Church House is now a reality, standing on the main street in Kampala, just opposite the Bank of Uganda. That was Janan Luhum's vision and plan. A commercial venture on Kampala Road to generate sustainable income for clergy, welfare, and pensions. He laid its foundation stone shortly before his death. He welcomed Rwandan refugees, resettled Southern Sudanese clergy, established a dairy farm in Gulu, and developed income-generating projects. This demonstrates a holistic theology of mission, evangelistic, socioeconomic, and ecumenical. He was equally at home at Lausanne and on the Central Committee of the World Council of Churches. What about leadership formation and lasting legacy? Among those he mentored were Henry Luke Orombe, later Archbishop of Uganda. There was John Sentamu, later Archbishop of York, mentored by him. His leadership development was intentional, strategic, and intergenerational. His life integrated evangelism conviction, ecumenical engagement, socioeconomic vision, cultural inculturation of the gospel. He challenged African Christians to make Christ known through African idioms or idioms. I don't know, depending on which school you went to, there is always this problem. In literature, I'm sure Dr. Lorry can say the right pronunciation, but again, we have not all gone to the same school. Even in dance, in science, and public life. Let me conclude my reflection of these aspects of Janan Luhum. What does Janani say to us today? Archbishop Luhum reminds the global church that biblical authority is not negotiable, that justification by faith produces courage, that pastoral care must extend into public ethics, that the African church must be both spiritually alive and economically responsible. No wonder, in my small way, I talk about the Bible and the whole, because we must work. We have really not got Janan Luhum in this area. We have so many prayer houses and prayer overnights. All the productive hours, we are praying and praying and praying. and we have not got the economy right, we will not work in that area right, prayer is not bad. But this whole area of economy and work, and not just wishing something could come. Here, I really wish Janan was here, because we have these brothers and sisters talking about name it and claim it. If you want a Porsche car like the one of David, you just go stand in the church premise, name it and claim it. My goodness, this doesn't work. This is selling air. We serve a working God. You must work and get the fruits of the work. And so Janan and Luum wanted the church to address this anomaly. And I do pray that we have lessons to learn and something to do. Clergy, I want you to have vehicles and cars and good houses, but work for it. Work for it. This is the time to work for Uganda. This is the time to work for Uganda. I love that song in the Sunday school. Can you believe? In Namasale, can you believe that? Work, and we need to work. Janan did not separate theology from public life. I have so many other people so confused in these things. They want to reduce theology just in the church squares, just in the church. But where there is a human being, there is God. You can't separate theology from public life. Theology simply means talk about God. So even in public life, God cares about the borders. God cares about the person in the local market. He cares about the street people. He cares about doctors. He cares about everyone. So we can't afford not to talk about God from public life. He did not separate evangelism from justice. He did not separate
holiness from development. He stood like Moses before Pharaoh,
but with the humility of a shepherd. The greatest tribute we can offer is not sentiment, but fidelity.